Hello and thanks for joining me, and welcome to another episode of Songs from the Saddle, and welcome to sunny Northumberland. What a glorious day. We are just into October here, and so we're turning into autumn, as you can tell from the colours of the trees, but we're still getting these beautiful days like this when it's just a joy to be out. So I'm going to keep riding my Bonneville T140, right until the point where the weather's too bad and they start salting the roads, really squeezing the maximum out of it. Anyway, I was asked recently by one of the viewers on my channel, my YouTube channel, have you still got the T140? And the answer is yes, very much so. Here I am riding it. The reason that it's not appeared in many videos just recently is simply because I've just been out riding it and enjoyed riding it. It's not been in the workshop at all summer. I've not needed to do any work at all on the bike all summer. It has just proving to be so reliable. It starts first kick every time. It's going really well. And so that's why you're not seeing it in any of my workshop videos. I'm not going to work on the bike if I don't need to. However, I have to say that the amount of riding I'm doing on it, I think I'm probably going to have to start doing some work on it soon. I think a bike this old, you can't ride it as much as this without having to do something. Or maybe I'm tempting fate by saying that. But anyway, so far, had a brilliant summer on the bike. So what I want to talk about is the fact that the bike is just proving to be so great and so reliable. I was thinking about, what have I done? Because I was talking with my friends recently, and he was talking about how unreliable his T140 is at the moment. So I'm making this video about the top 5 modifications and changes that I have made to this bike, or in the case of one of them, a previous owner made to this bike, which I just think contribute towards its reliability and the joy of riding it. So my top 5 modifications, top 5 mods on the Triumph Bonneville T140. So the first one is electronic ignition. This bike, this is the one thing I didn't know, it was done by the previous owner, actually just before he sold it to me. It's a Sparks, that's the name of it, a Sparks electronic ignition. And it's been great, absolutely no trouble with it at all. Just, it's set, it goes, and as I said, the bike starts reliably, it runs well, fantastic. I think just, changing to electronic ignition is just a sensible modification in this day and age. So my second mod that I think has really changed the bike is fitting the progressive fork springs in the front forks. I did make a video on the channel about this, showing how I did it. Obviously it's not a complex job. You just basically take the old springs out, put the new springs in. I fitted some slightly thicker oil in there, damping oil in there as well. But it's made a very big difference to the handling of the bike. The front end was quite soft. I have to say, compared to some of my other bikes, it's still quite soft now. But it's really improved the ride and the handling of the bike. And those progressive fork springs, if I remember rightly, they only cost me about £35 or something like that. So, a very cheap and, a cheap mod that's made a huge impact. So the third modification I made was just simply changing the brake pads. When I got the bike at first, I was very unhappy with the performance of the front brake. The back brake is great, there's no problem with that, but the front brake I was not happy with at all. I stripped down the whole brake system, serviced both the master cylinder and the caliper, and again I've made videos about the work I did on that. But what I did then was I changed the brake pads, I beg your pardon, to EBC double H rated pads, and I use those same pads in my other bikes, and they just got so much better feel and grip to them. And so now the front brake on this bike is great, absolutely no problems. For a bike that is 44 years old, it stops really well. I wouldn't want the front brake to be any more powerful than it is. It's fantastic. So that is a change which I've been very happy with, because I never feel comfortable riding a bike that doesn't have good brakes. I want to be able to stop when I need to. I want to be able to stop. I think he's turning in here. Yeah, it's quite a popular country park here, is this. Okay, so mod number 4 is I fitted an inline paper oil filter to the bike. It's actually the very first mod I did to the bike. The very first video I made of mods that I'd done to the bike, and I fitted the filter that goes actually inside the oil tank. So you just buy the base plate that goes on the bottom of the oil tank, the bottom of the frame, the oil tank. You buy a new one of those that you can then incorporate a paper filter into that. Again, it's a small thing, but in this day and age, it just, to me, doesn't make sense not to have a paper filter, and that extra security there of having that paper filter. I know people will argue, well, Triumphs ran for years with just the mesh filters. Of course they did, but why not have that extra filtering if it's available to you? So that's really just an issue in terms of, for me anyway, peace of mind and ensuring that the oil is fine. I still change the oil at the recommended intervals, but it just makes me feel more confident that that oil is going to be fine as it circulates around the engine. Okay, so that's 4 modifications. The last one, number 5. Now this may surprise you. If you have a look at my left handlebar, you might have already noticed it whilst riding along. I've got a little device mounted on there just next to the switchgear. That is a Beeline Moto sat-nav system, and I bought it specifically to mount on this bike. If you see some of my earlier videos, I have my TomTom rider mounted on the right hand side, and you've got this great big navigation system mounted there with a big screen kind of sticking there, and this Beeline Moto is just so much more discreet, and also I feel the way it works is more suitable for the kind of riding that I do on this bike. So I'll explain a little bit more detail. I don't want to make this into a whole review of this sat-nav, because I am actually producing another video where I'm looking at various different sat-nav systems, because I use various different GPS devices. So I want to talk about the different devices and the pros and cons of each one. But for this bike, I'll just very quickly say, firstly, it's small and it's discreet. It just sits there. It just fastens on with a couple of rubber bands, actually, so you can mount it anywhere. I've mounted it there, but you can mount it down the middle of the handlebar, other places. And of course, it's not wired in either. The battery life is, 30, 40 hours on this thing, so you don't have to worry about wiring it into the bike. So you can mount it pretty much anywhere. It's discreet, it just sits there, but as you can see, it only gives you very basic information. There's that big arrow which tells you the direction that you should be going in. Then you maybe not be able to see on the screen here, but it tells you how far to the next turn, and then it tells you whether it's a right or left turn or whatever. If it's a roundabout, it tells you which exit you're taking, so the second exit, the third exit, etc. The thing I love about it is for local rides, which is all I do really in the main on this Triumph, riding around roads that I really know. It's just a reminder to me there of where I'm going. I'll maybe put a nice route together, and I'm just having a nice ride out, somewhere to a coffee stop, and it's just a gentle reminder. I don't need the big sat-nav with the screen and the map on it and everything. But also, because you haven't got any of those, you're actually paying more attention to the road signs and where you're going and what have you. So you're more focused on where you're going and looking at the world around you, rather than just following a sat-nav screen. So I feel that it works really well for the kind of riding that I do on this bike. and I've included it as my fifth modification because it's really enhanced my pleasure of going out on the bike. If I'm going somewhere, maybe somewhere that I know, but I want to come up with a slightly different route, explore some new roads and things, then I'll program a little route into this sat-nav and just follow it and have a nice ride. So here we are coming into Morpeth. I should have said actually at the start that it's Saturday morning here, and I'm riding up to Morpeth. I'm actually going to Morpeth Motorcycles to meet up with a couple of friends for lunch. So there we have it. That is my 5 top modifications, what I've done to this Triumph, which I feel have really enhanced the riding experience. And as I've already said, most of those I've made separate videos about them, about how I did the work in the modifications of the bike. I am working on we'll be releasing soon a video about the sat-nav system and comparing different navigation systems on bikes. So I hope you found that interesting. I hope you found it useful. Thanks very much for joining me. Hopefully see you again next time. Ride safe. Bye.